Meet Codename Goose, your on-machine open-source AI agent, built to automate your tasks. Codename Goose is an intelligent and autonomous agent capable of handling complex tasks thanks to its core features. Connect with apps and tools you already use with extensions. Built on the Model Context Protocol, you can connect to extensions like GitHub, integrate JetBrains IDEs, access Google Drive, or build your own custom integrations for Goose. For a curated list of extensions, visit our docs. With a wide range of compatible large language model providers, you can choose and integrate your preferred model. You can also run Goose as a desktop app or through the command line interface using the same configurations across both. You can think of Goose as an assistant, ready to take your instructions and do the work for you. Able to handle a wide range of tasks across various engineering domains. Here are examples of tasks Goose has helped people with already. Goose has helped dive into a new project in an unfamiliar coding language, conduct code migrations such as Ember to React or Ruby to Kotlin, increase code coverage, and even generate unit tests for a feature, and much more. To get started using Goose right away, check out our quick start and be the first to know about upcoming features by joining our community.
Hi, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wild's Goose Case. I'm Ebony Lewis, a developer advocate at Block, and I have my lovely co-host.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adewale Abati, also a developer advocate at Block, and I'm excited to be here with you all today again.
Yes, and today we have an exciting guest, Aaron. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, everyone. My name is Aaron. I work on the infra ops engineering team within merchant services at Block. We sit between the product and sales team, so we have to be very cross-functional, but yeah, that's just a little bit about myself and what I do.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today, Aaron. And for everyone just joining us in the audience, welcome to another episode of Wild Goose Case, where we cover exciting project activities, ideas, and experiments that people are using with Goose. If you caught the video at the beginning, or you're wondering what Goose is an open source on-machine AI agent that helps you automate your engineering tasks seamlessly. So if you've always wondered what are the limits that you can put Goose to, we using the Wild Goose Case, we show you all of the wild cases that people are pushing Goose to. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Everyone has built something very exciting, and we're looking forward to learning all of that as well.
Yes, and normally we do like use cases that have helped a team, like production time, like and stuff like that. But this one's going to be a little different. This is more of like a Goose experiment, a successful Goose experiment that I know you guys are all like super interested in and wanting to know, how do I get multiple Goose agents working? Like, how do I do this? So instead of us like rambling too much, because you guys have feedback, we're going to jump right into it. But I would like to show a little commercial just so you can get another use case for Goose. So 1 second.
Want Goose to fetch and process content from the web? Here's how to plug and play. Enable the built-in fetch extension. Now let's play. Hey Goose, create a web page that fetches programmer jokes from the official joke API, display the joke, and let users guess the punchline. Show if they're right or wrong. In less than a minute, Goose fetched a joke from the API, processed the response, and built an app that uses this data. Thanks, Goose! What's the object-oriented way to become wealthy? Is it inheritance? You're such a silly goose. To get started with Goose, visit block.github.io/goose.
I
Such a
love
silly goose.
I didn't say that part. The part is so cute in the short. And if you were like a little confused there with Goose, there are different extensions that you can add so that you can customize it more to what you need. So these are modern context protocol servers. And that's what it was showing, the web fetching, connecting that extension.
Yeah.
So Aaron, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to put up your demo and walk us
Before
through.
we go into the demo, can you want to give us like a bit of background, like into the task, into the
Yeah,
context, and also what you've tried to build there? Thank you.
totally. So this was something that I was thinking about for a while, just about how large language models can potentially be communicating to perform tasks that potentially the individual model wouldn't be able to do by itself. This isn't something that's like new. I think that this has been something people have wanted to do for a while. But recently, like in this past week, somebody posted a colleague posted a video of them getting Goose to effectively message another Goose within the UI. So I was like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. Let me see if I can do something similar. So I chatted with Goose. I gave it some instructions just about like what I was trying to accomplish. And what's really cool is like, you don't have to have the exact plan in mind. It's better if you almost don't, and you just give it your intentions and your goals. You can give it as many constraints as you do want, but let it do its thing, and then just iterate on that, and then you can really create whatever you have in mind. And I'm a big, I think that creative flow is definitely tied to being in like a frictionless environment. And so if you can work with the Goose and have this back and forth and progress your ideas, that's really how you can see these visions come to life. So yeah, that's some background on why I did this. And it was honestly like 45 minutes. I was doing it while I was working on some other stuff. It was just like kind of a side thing. I wanted to see if we could. And then yeah, I shared a demo, and I got some initial feedback like, oh, this is cool. We should see, instead of it showing this, let's have it show this. And so I could quickly make a couple small changes. And yeah, I'm really excited about this. Like, it's definitely a proof of concept. It's not something that I would say like can just be deployed and works out of the box, but
Yeah.
it's really fun and exciting to see like what is ahead of us in this space. So
And I think it's super exciting that you had Goose basically do it. So I think that's the really cool part.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining it. Let's jump in. I'm going to put up your first demo. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So just a little bit of context. When I start interacting with the Goose session, I already have a server set up locally. So I basically start a simple server and open up localhost 5000, and it will, at that point, I provide some instructions to start interacting with the server. So this first task was just to build a simple homepage for Goose. Didn't give it too many instructions. I kind of wanted to see what it was going to do. I didn't know if it was going to go Goose AI, Goose Animal, but yeah, well, this is just kind of the direction that it went. So here we are. And so what we can see up top is there's a web developer and there's a project coordinator. And these roles are assigned when the agents join. So the first agent that joins takes the role as project coordinator, just to have some sort of organization in this. So not everybody's trying to coordinate. But after that point, the project coordinator will figure out what our task is and then assign roles thereon. In theory, we could do this without project coordination. I just think that it makes it a little bit it's easier to follow as well. So this is me just trying to test out what this website that they built does. They said, okay, we would like to know if there's any feedback you have on this. So they're asking right here, I'm still waiting to hear feedback. Please let us know if you like it. And then it's even saying, you didn't read the response. Please let us know if you require any changes. So I responded, sorry, I don't love the color scheme. Could we change that up? So this is a task that typically, like, a single Goose agent could do that. You don't have to be interacting with multiple agents to do this, but they still have like pretty broad task that given the instructions, I wanted to see what would happen. Like, does only on this, will the project coordinator pick up that task and assign it to somebody else? So this was for me, like, partly I want to see how these systems actually work when you give them the opportunity to do these kinds of things. So I'm fascinated by like creative experiments like this. So like any way that you can take something that already exists and apply it in a new way, you often get some really cool results. So let me just skip through this a little bit and we can see the final result. Let me see.
Just a quick one. I'm not sure if you mentioned this yet, but you did touch on having like an existing server beforehand.
Yeah.
Do you want to provide any context on what that server is? So like, what if someone wants to replicate this, what they would need to have like catered for?
Right. So I decided to use like WebSockets and just like an HTTP server locally that can send and receive requests to it. So the WebSocket server would effectively allow us to, in real time, get refreshes from updates from the server. We have a messaging queue that all new messages go into, and then the agents can read from those the messaging queue. And so it was like very basic. I think like a future implementation, I would probably want to do something where agents could like subscribe to a specific channel, and then there could be like a group one that people post to, and you can see like, okay, I want to know what are my assignments from a specific agent's perspective. But for right now, it's just there's a messages endpoint and there's a recent endpoint, which just gives like the last 3 messages sent to the server. And that's all part of the instructions. So I like created this agent communication protocol, which is like, it's a joke. It's not actually a protocol. It's just like a set of rules. But I feel like when you phrase it that way, then they take it a little bit more seriously.
Right.
So yeah, you gotta make it important. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, are you still gonna like show that to us too, your instructions and everything?
Let's like jump over to that. That would be in our longer demo if we want to show that one.
Okay, no, let me not mix you up.
It's all good. I mean, I just will go through it at that at a later point. But effectively we do just provide it with the set of rules. It's like once you know how the server works, you're basically just telling it how to interact with it. In theory, that's sort of the point of a model context protocol where it has a set of tools and it knows how to use them. So this is kind of replicating that. There's definitely some similarities between having an extension that allows a Goose agent to communicate with other Gooses and this, but this was really just meant to be something that I could just test out quickly. Cool. Could we move on to the next one?
Should we do part 3 so we could show them like the final?
Yeah. So I wanted to test out doing a little bit of like research as well. So I asked, let's see, let me skip ahead just a little bit. Okay, so I'm basically saying, okay, we want to get some extra information about how is Goose being used today. Can we get some, testimonials, that kind of stuff that we can add to this Goose homepage, just as a testing out the full capabilities and the project planning that goes on in here. So just skipping ahead, we can see that it's doing some searching and it's providing the updates. And theoretically, these the results could be saved locally and they don't have to share it to everybody, but that's just sort of the default behavior. So let me skip to where I actually have a result that we can look at. They're giving a lot of different links to things, but.
So to provide like additional clarification for the audience, what is going on here is essentially you starting out with a set of instructions and having multiple instances of Goose act on those set of instructions by communicating with each other and then sending all of those responses or requests to a central server that queues up the messages, and you can always add additional instructions or feedback to those requests at the same time.
Totally. And like locally, when Goose runs and it has like a set of tasks that it's running through to solve its main task, and it kind of splits it up into smaller problems.
Yeah,
those are kinds of things that I'm thinking, instead of it having to do all the work by itself and do them consecutively, are there things and that, like, while someone's doing the research, can we set up the framework for what the HTML page looks like? Can we get like things done faster? And faster isn't always better, but what it does often is new ideas can emerge when you have these different systems that, they have focused roles and they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And then they're interacting with another, this dynamic system that can change to its environment. So if things aren't going the way it expects, it can make necessary changes. So, so this is, I just want to repeat that I didn't give any direction about how this page should look, like what it should do. I really just said at the start, let's have a homepage for Goose, and it got enough context to be able to do that. So yeah, that was the ending page that it did. It had like all these sources, it had quotes, it had testimonials. I probably should have ended.
I'm gonna go back to it.
Yeah.
I love how like in the chat they were each communicating with each other. Like it was like, I'm agent 3, I'm doing X, I've just done this, what's agent 1 doing? Like I liked seeing that dynamic as well, and it looks good for as minimal feedback as you've given it.
I think it's like, as a first draft, to be able to get something that you can see and then send to somebody and say, what do we want to change here? Like you don't have to do all of that dev work yourself. You can have the vision in your mind. You can say, okay, I know I want to have a website. I know I want to have these things on it. Goose figure out how do we get that done? So that was, demonstrating that they can communicate together. And the fact that they can communicate together, you can kind of think that we could extend this into what if the server isn't running just on your local computer, but you have a private shared server between two businesses and you want the businesses' Gooses to be able to communicate together to do work. That is definitely a possibility. Maybe they have a shared workspace, and so that each business has their own Goose agent, and your colleagues can interact with it, and they can work in their own shared environment. But if they're able to communicate and Goose can do work together, like there's a lot of powerful things that we can do with that. So I'm really excited, like, to see how this kind of formalizes, and the more open it can be, the more people can customize and extend these systems. I think that the more ideas we'll see. Because if we just have like one way of doing it and you're locked in, this is how you have agentic systems, there will be like very limited in different types of results we'll get. So
yeah, with the example you just gave, I can picture or imagine somebody reaching out to me and my Goose agent is like, hey, you've reached the life model decoy of ACE, leave a message. That's an Iron Man reference.
Yeah, it's like you ask your Goose agent to communicate with somebody else's Goose agent, so that doing work on behalf of you, you just want to know what the end result is, and
scary.
It's scary, but it's also like it allows us to kind of move faster. We want to stay in the loop with everything. I don't know. I think it's fun. It's exciting. We just have to be smart about it. We have to be thinking about any potential implications. What systems do we give it access to? What do we want to be able to read from, write from, share it with others?
Before we proceed, we have, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say we have a couple of questions up. So someone was asking, Rizal was asking, what is your ultimate goal with that? You just went over that. And you just envision what could happen if multiple agents interact with each other. I think that's what we just talked about real quick. Someone else asked about the easiest cloud infrastructure to deploy, Goose agents on. I don't know if you have any insights on that.
So I don't personally work on the ML AI team. I mean, I would love to be able to talk to that. That's something that we would want to be able to do on our own team as well. We haven't yet explored that. That's going to be something that we're going to be doing this year because Goose is, now available. It's all open source. We can look at how we are going to be deploying this. But I know that there are a few individuals that are looking at doing this. So I would reference those resources if there are other people who are starting to look at this. But one thing I would just say is that you can run Goose as a command line, like a one-shot prompt, where if you have a markdown file and you just run the Goose run and then you give it the markdown file, it will do all the work and then output the results and exit. So theoretically, if you just treat that like any executable, like I don't see why it couldn't be run anywhere. But
that makes sense. I've seen people, run what's it called, Goose on via Docker, and just like describe it now. If you can have like any environment where you could have like installables in, it could be a Linux environment remotely that you could SSH in. You could have a running Goose instance there too as well to keep it going. I think so. Those are like possible ways.
Yeah, that would be really really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably explore that too. That sounds like something that we want to demonstrate across, remote environments.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very interesting.
Before we get into the other questions, I do want us to look at the server and like the instructions, just so people can visualize what you were already talking about, and then we can come back in to the other question.
Sounds good.
So basically on the left, there's just a terminal window. I'm calling the simple server or starting it up. And then I open up a Goose window, paste a set of instructions. Something kind of I want to call out is that these instructions were actually generated by AI, but I had to iterate on my original instructions because they weren't really, the agents weren't behaving the way I kind of wanted them to. So I went to Gemini. I'm currently on a Gemini spree right now. So love Gemini. Gave it my set of current set of instructions, what's wrong and what I want to happen. And then it effectively just tweaked what I had and then tried that prompt out. It worked way better. So I'm like, I'm going to stick with this prompt. So often it's like we kind of have to lean into what we don't know, what we know. You can't always be right. So it's like you got to, if there's a better way of doing something, you have to be open to that. In this example, there were actual, situations where the agents, for whatever reason, stopped listening to or they stopped following the protocol, where they effectively just responded back to me instead of continuing to monitor the server. But normally what it would just be doing, and this is why it's very much not a model context protocol, they're just continually calling a tool, which is to curl the 5,000, the local host, to get the recent messages. So that's kind of simulating these models don't want to just continue to do work if there's not anything new. So that's something that I've kind of found. So I've tweaked. One of the rules was, okay, if you haven't heard from anybody in a while, let the group know that you're still waiting. So that was something that it can actually have something to do while other agents might be doing their own tasks. So in this one, I think I had 4 UIs that were open. It's a little bit hard to follow. So I apologize for that, but I'm going to share, I have a link to the protocol. Let me share this in here. So this is, I'm not sure if we can share that out with the rest of the community.
Do it for you.
Let me add as well the instructions.
Do you want to share them on the screen, the instructions?
Yeah, let me.
You pull it open. I can share it for you because I know you shared it with me yesterday. I think that'd be cool for people to see.
Yeah, let me do that. Sorry, I'm not seeing
No,
the file. Let me just re-download it from where I sent it to faster.
see what comments we have. Okay, let's see.
So right now we're trying to find the instructions, the initial instructions.
Yeah, it's just in a folder. I just want to make sure that I have the. Oh, it's not letting me upload a markdown. That's why. I can.
Okay. But this link, they'll be able to. Let me open it up.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's going to be on the link if you guys go
me
to the GIST.
Hold on. Can I try to do it for you?
We have that in chat. You can share your screen directly as well if you want to show the gist file versus share just the file.
Yeah.
Because this is a video, right? We can take this off if you want.
Yeah, let me grab that. Okay, so.
Sweet.
Okay.
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, awesome.
Is that more or?
That's good.
Okay. Yeah, so I would have this in a folder, like you can, and the reason I have this as markdown is so that I can run it from the command line without having to open up the UI if I didn't want to. But if you have the UI open, you just copy the text and tell it to read the communication protocol.txt. And then I provide it with all of the stuff to do after it's done. And I do that at the same time. So it has this all in its context about what it's going to be doing, even before it has actually read this, because it's not going to start reading the file until it's actually read all of my instructions. But that's kind of part of the how I'm just interacting with it. The protocol up here is just another prompt, effectively, but this is the server rules, how to be interacting with the server, not so much how to be interacting with the user, I guess, which is the initial instructions. Basically telling it to register. That gives it a agent ID, and we use the agent ID just for some of the UI stuff so that we can tell which agent is which, and give it an endpoint so it can list the rest of the agents, and give it the instructions for how to construct its message. Again, like this would normally, with the normal kind of MCP server, we would have it this like a tool that would be used, like, create message or, post a group or whatever it might be. But in here, because it can like send specific headers, it's always sending the sender. If it doesn't send this, the message won't go through. And this is where they provide their ID. And then they also, once they are assigned a role, we allow them to send that as well. And so we mentioned, okay, don't send this header until you've been assigned a role. So yeah, this is basically, I don't think I need to go through every single step, but it would basically just go through the instructions. How do we use the server? What are the general like rules for it? I even explained that it can get some screenshot based things. This was never really done, and this was something that I don't think is probably something I'd want to keep long term. But yeah, I gave it some formatting instructions, error handling, best practices. Remember. Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting because I had a section that said remember. I found that the agents actually behave differently when you had the tool toggled on for memory. I don't even remember what the full tool
Memory
means.
extension.
Yeah, it is called memory extension.
It was almost like, since it knew it had a tool that it could use to remember things, it would actually, even though it wasn't saving this stuff to memory, it was following it a lot better. And it was often actually saving the individual session agent IDs, which is why I said this. I added this part to it, which didn't seem to actually help too much, which means still some more iterations that are needed. But effectively, when the agent gets a new agent ID, and it puts that in memory, and you create a new UI, you don't want it thinking it's still agent 2. You want it to be able to get a new ID so that it can start fresh. So yeah, that's pretty much the architecture. It's all just prompt based. Like you could set this all up in a real infrastructure, or you can have it as 2 prompts. And that's kind of the kind of beauty of this, is that there is some flexibility there. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely, I don't want to think that this is like an end state for this Goose intercommunication thing. Like this is just really supposed to be a point that people might be able to get more ideas from. And
starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
I love
Definitely
that.
very interesting, because I've tried Goose extensively, to an extent, but I've never written any complex or like long form set of instructions that I'm like, hey, Goose, follow this every time. And it's things I've seen people do, just like you also showed right now. But I think it just blows the mind off every time when you think about going into so much detail and outlining your entire process and trusting that Goose will be able to go through all of the steps at every session that you have. And I think that's just amazing stuff that I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
With the instructions, did you write them yourself, or did you have Goose help you write them, or did you then reiterate on them when you realized things that you wanted to add? You just updated it?
Yeah. So I started off purely like my own ideas, like how well does it work just from typing up some set of instructions that I gave it on its own. The protocol was generated by like me interacting with Goose and saying, this is how I want it to behave, generate the protocol based on this. And then I could open it up and change things if I needed to. But in terms of keep waiting this amount of time, do this for a minute, like all of that stuff was just more trial and error, and based on what I was finding, how the agents were interacting. Like there would be a scenario where it wouldn't hear anything, and so it would just exit because it thought that it didn't have anything else to do. So we have to specifically say, okay, wait for up to a minute, so it has some sort of end goal in mind. It's not just arbitrary. It knows, okay, I'm going to keep doing this just for a little bit longer, and then, oh, I saw a new message, I guess I'm going to not wait at that minute length, and it's going to just keep doing its thing. So it's a little bit of trickery, but it's also more just encouraging the type of behavior that you want the agents to have. And yeah, I think that this one here, like it has a project coordinator, but in an ideal scenario, it would be like, I think that the project coordination should kind of almost be separate so that agents can join and just have a role, and they don't need to have like as much communication with the project coordinator. It's just like the teammates working together. That would be the field.
And I know you also mentioned like one day hopefully having this be its own like MCP server, which would be really cool too. And you'll be able to like oversee, like you said. We do have some questions. I feel like I don't want to miss any. Let's hop into this one. Okay, so a user from Discord was asking, is this polling happening in a standard session, or do you have a command that makes it long-lived? I think you probably kind of already answered this.
Yeah, so I do have to I have to start the server up if I want to start interacting with this, and then you have to explicitly like kill the server when you're done using it, because it's a long-lasting server and it's using WebSockets. So effectively, it's it's not a command. I guess it's just built into the code that's making it stay alive. That makes sense.
Nice. Let's see. Okay, another one from Discord. The prompt as protocol seems very cool. Is this a link to a project repo, or is it open source? So we did share the gist, and then we'll also share it in Discord later if anybody that wants to like hop on and like play around with it.
I just shared it in Discord as well.
You shared it? Okay, nice. So yeah, you guys can find it in Discord. Let's see if I missed any other questions, Ace. Oh, this one. Okay. Okay, so from Discord, can we ask what model is being used for these Goose instances? Is it Ollama or Anthropic? If Anthropic, do you have a trick to avoid hitting the token rate limits? This is a good question.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because I was trying to experiment with like different models. We're using Block's Goose-owned model, which I believe is using Anthropic by default. So we have an internal, it's Claude. Yeah.
I think so.
But it might switch depending on the day. But yeah, no, I was trying OpenAI. I was trying Anthropic, the GPT-4 series. They need to be able to use tool usage. So if the model doesn't support that, it won't be able to actually use any of the extensions. But what I thought was kind of interesting is I think that you do get kind of new behavior when you have different models interacting with each other. I don't know if that's because these models are trained to do well with like human interaction, where the inputs might be very different from their like trained data set or whatever. Yeah, so their context. So I think that that is something interesting that you can look at how these models interact. But in terms of hitting the token limit, I didn't actually run into that myself. There was one point that there was like I was getting a 400 and I had to just like kill that Goose session. But yeah, other than that, like I think that it's doing a pretty good job. I'm not sure if behind the scenes we have some sort of like we're compressing the messages or summarizing what's happened in the past and then just leaving something in the context for Goose. But yeah, I was able, they would have like a 15-minute conversation, no issue. We weren't having them hit the messages endpoint every time. So it would just get like the last few messages, but that was just enough for it to know what's going on.
Sounds good. I was just going to follow up on the comment about, the fact that this is a proof of concept, and also from your point of view, what do you think could be the next step for stuff like this? Even for anyone that is probably checking out the gist or the GitHub repo itself, or for you, if you continue working on it, like what do you think the next steps to push this could be?
Yeah, so I think that like where the server actually exists, I think that's kind of arbitrary. Like you can have it locally if you wanted to, keep it all just on your own machine, but I don't see any reason why this couldn't be like a server that is hosted and maintained and that you can check in on, and you can have maybe even like a project server, let's just say, that all your workspace files and that kind of stuff. Like that seems very realistic to me as like a place that this would be going. I'm not sure like how do we actually implement this? That's like a very good question. I just am thinking about when I was designing, okay, I need to have these agents register. That would likely be a tool call, or the same thing with like, I want to refresh myself on the help stuff. Like those are currently, it's just an endpoint that would hit to get the help information again. But I think that in like where this would go next is if somebody was able to, I guess like take the basic kind of endpoints and turn them into tools like that. That's basically all that is really needed. I don't have enough experience with creating these extensions yet. I'm really excited to learn. So it might be something that we have like a hack week project and get to work on this. But if other people want to do this in the meantime, like please go do that. Like I'm excited to see what happens with this. So yeah.
I love that. I do have a question. What extensions did you have turned on when working with this? I know you mentioned memory.
Yeah. So I was trying Travely. Is that what it's called? Tavily, not Travely. Sorry. Tavily is it's another search API. It does require an API key, but there's a Goose extension for it. And it's just another way it's similar to Fetch, but it can do several web searches at once. I was just kind of trying a few different things. So in addition with Tavily, I had the computer controller, I had the developer, memory. But yeah, I haven't added too many new ones. Let's see. I did have Fetch had memory, and yeah, that's it.
Nice. So Fetch, memory, developer, and Tavily.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Ooh, thank you so much, Aaron. And on the screen, I put again the gist where everybody can go and they can iterate on it, play with it, tinker with it, just kind of like make it more great.
Yeah, definitely.
And now I wanted to like do maybe like a funny like question or closing remark, but I think we'll just say happy Valentine's Day to you guys on stage and then everyone in the audience, because we didn't even do that to start with. Oh wait, we do have one more question before I close this out. Second. Okay, from Discord, did I hear that right? Something like an MCP server for chunking requests.
I think anything is possible, right? Like, the MCP is kind of like the framework for it. So if someone can figure out a way of doing that, of accomplishing kind of the same idea through MCP, like, yes, please do. I personally haven't gotten that far. I know how, like, you know, a simple server that you can use locally works. So that's why I was leaning into that part of it. But in terms of chunking request, that word makes me think of document chunking, like when it exceeds a context window. So maybe I'm not thinking of the right thing, but maybe it's just chunking. Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that question accurately.
Yeah.
It's okay. And then also, like, a cool thing that you could do with Goose is you can have Goose go learn everything about an MCP server for you and then save it in memory, and then you can start like trying to build this yourself if you wanted to. I know you keep saying you don't have much experience with it. Let Goose do it, or have like all the agents kind of do different things for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am wearing my Valentine's Day red. Ooh, interesting. Okay. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining our episode of Wild Goose Case. Aaron, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experiment with us. I can see the community kind of taking it, evolving it, and just making it better. Ace, any closing remarks?
No, thank you so much for joining us, Aaron, and then everyone in chat and the audience. Excited to see what you build, and you might join us on the next episode of Wild Goose Case.
See you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Please stop wasting your time searching for files in your Google Drive. Let Goose plug in and do it for you. Here's how to plug and play. Let's provide Goose with the commands and environment variables it needs so that it can plug into the Google Drive MCP extension. And now, let's play. Goose, quick! I have a meeting in 30 minutes. I need you to 1, find documents pertaining to our marketing budget and performance. 2, give me a quick summary of our Q1 performance. 3, highlight the key decisions we still need to make. And 4, provide any outstanding action items from our last meeting. And I need it quick, Goose. I'm a slacker. Hurry! Thanks, Goose. Within minutes, Goose has done every single thing we asked for. We have our summary, our outstanding action items, our key decisions are highlighted, and honestly, I feel super prepared. To get started with Goose, visit blog.github.io/Goose.